Good afternoon, Flosstube. It's Caroline of Caroline's Corner here on Flosstube. It's Sunday, May the 28th, and I am back for Flosstube number 30. I'm struggling a little bit with the concept that we are now at the end of May, because it doesn't seem like I blinked and it was Christmas, but hey, the world just seems to be speeding up at the minute. I can be found around the internet as at Caroline A. Kemp on Twitter and Instagram. I am on Facebook, but my personal Facebook tends to be kept quite private, but I am quite active in some of the stitching groups. I'm in Leeds in the UK. It's the start of half term. So as promised, I'm back for another video. Been reasonably productive time since I last recorded. I think it was partway through April, so just over 6 weeks since my last video. So I have a fair few things to show you, so I'm going to dive straight in. First things is I have some fully finished objects for a change. My notes on the floor where I can see them. I finally managed to take some pieces in to get framed, having been meaning to get to the frame shop since Christmas, but leaving it so long meant one of the things I could take in was Skylar Wayne, which, if you remember, was a finish in my last video. I finished it in April. So it's quite good to get it straight in, get it framed, and not have it sitting in the to be finished drawer for several years. So I'll show you a close up of the frame we chose, which is just a simple moulding. There was plenty of fabric to play with, so we went for giving it quite a wide fabric border on this one. So this is Skylar Wayne by Indigo Rose. Expertly framed, as always, by Pomfret Gallery in Pontefract. The second piece I took in to be framed is one you've not actually seen on Flosstube before, because I finished it in 2010. It has been on Instagram. I did post it for Carol Saltbox's Stitches post along. It is Maria Spence. Let's lean back so I can get it in. The chart was by the Exemplar, Exemplar. I got it was a class at the first Aqua Sampler weekend organised by Needleprint back in 2008. No, before 2008, 2006. Second one was 2008. So it was started at the Sampler weekend and worked on and off. I finished it in 2010. I think it's lambswool linen. I don't remember the count without getting the pattern out, and it's all Aversoir silks. Beautiful, beautiful design, and I am absolutely thrilled with what it looks like framed. The frame has really brought this design out. My fabric was cut a bit wonky, so even though I started 3 inches in at this side, the top sort of went off like that, so we had to frame it really close up to the stitching on this one. But I'm really pleased with, actually, for a Quaker design, that works really well, particularly this one. So fairly rustic looking frame. For this one, there's a close up of the moulding. Absolutely thrilled. Both are framed with art glass, which is, they either do regular glass or art glass at my framers, and it's It's this is probably it for the framing for this year, given how much I spent there, but very pleased to have them both finished and both now on the wall. So just let me shove that safely out of the way. And I have one more finish to show you. I finished the Aquith Whitework sampler. I've just simply hem stitched all around it, and again just finishing it off I think just brings the whole design out. You've seen this on numerous videos. I finished stitching last weekend and I've just done simple hem stitch border. Not sure where it's going to go. It'll go in the cupboard in the drawer for the time being, but it is at least in the drawer, fully finished. So those are my fully finished items. I'm going to try and keep on top of the finishing for everything I actually finish this year. So so that's 2 of them down. I've only got a few things. So speaking of things I finished this year, I have another finish. If you remember in my last video, I was very close to finishing the Elegant Pocket by Beardy Designs. This is, I think, out of print now. I've not seen anything about Karen, the designer, for quite a long time now. And here is the finished stitching. So when you last saw it, I was working on this section down here, so I've got that all finished and finished the border and got it all done. So very pleased with that. I'm probably going to try and get that finished into a pocket in the next month, so hopefully by my next video that one will be done. It's stitched on 32 counter elegant bean linen, which was, at the time I got this, it was a kit from Elegant Stitch in Modesto, and it was stitched using 4 different shades of needle point ink silk, which I've had on this Kelmscott thread keep, mother of pearl thread keep. That one is a strawberry. So there we go. Again, loved stitching on this pocket. I actually have there's another kit with some smalls that go with the pocket, needle book and scissor fob and such, which I also have the kit for. So at some point in the not too distant future, I may get that one started. So that's it for finishes. There was only Elegant Pocket that got finished this last month. So we'll go on to whips. My first whip is the From the Heart basket, which was a charity kit by Elegant Stitch in Modesto, and came out in, I think, 2003-4. I know I have had it in my stash for the best part of 20 years, and bought it because I had to have it. So anyway, now it's time to get it finished. What I didn't say about Elegant Pocket is that I started that for Mania in 2019. One of my goals for this year is to finish my 2019 whips. I finished Skylar Way, I finished Elegant Pocket, so that just leaves me with 2 to go, one of which is From the Heart. So when you last saw this, I was working on the pincushion, and I have finished the stitching on the pincushion, but I didn't have very much to go. I think I just had the date finish and some of the non-stitch around the outside. That is I've completely finished the stitching on that one. Having finished the stitching on that one, I picked up the basket band, is the last bit to be done. So as you can see, there's 4 sections to this. I've got the green vine in on the first section. I've started doing the hearts and got some of the 4-sided stitch around. Each section is outlined in 4-sided stitch and non-stitch, so there's a bit to go. I'm deviating from the pattern slightly in that I'm doing the hearts in a tent stitch over 1. On the basket band, Lois said to do Rhodes hearts, but all the other hearts on this vine, on all the other pieces, are tent stitch. So while it's going to be a bit of a pain and it's going to take a long time, I'm going to do tent stitch because I want them all to match. So it's from the heart. This is a 30 count off Antique White Linen by Nodden Crafts, and it's stitched using perlé cottons in white and pink and some Weeks Dye Works in thistle and carnation and a little bit of DMC green. Again, these are on a Kelmscott needle minder, and this one's an acorn. So nice to feel like I'm making some serious progress on that particular piece. Now we're on to my large whip, which is Teresa Wenslow's The Guardian. Now I've had a bit of a blip with The Guardian. I thought, I'm making great progress on this. You know, cracking on with the dragon, got some of the water in. You know, for just over a week stitching, it's only had 1 rotation round. The other times it's all been odd days. I started this in 2020. And then I was taking the picture and realised, actually, do you know what? Selvage edge should be around here. So not entirely sure whether I turned it when I was starting, or at some point, given for the first 3 years it's only had a day at a time, I inadvertently turned my fabric around at some point. So having considered my options, bearing in mind this is the Leisure Arts kit fabric, and previous experience tells me I'm probably not going to have a lot to play with, and I don't have a huge amount done, I'm going to stash dive and find another suitable. I'm sure I have a suitable piece of fabric, either 28 count, which is what this is 28 count even weave that this is on. I started on, I will have something suitable in either 28 count or 32 count. I have a huge collection of those fabrics and I don't use them very much anymore. I've moved on to higher fabric count stuff. But 20 odd years ago, when I was in the Silk Weaver Fabric of the Month Club, I mostly stitched on 28 and 32 count, so that's what I got. So I'm very sure I will have something I can restart it on. It's annoying but not devastating, and I'm glad I found out now, because if I found out when I was closer to having finished the thing, knowing how much work there is in a Teresa Wenslow design, I'd be absolutely fuming. But it's going to be a bit close as to whether I'd have enough to actually frame it properly, so I'd rather restart and crack on, and then we'll see how we go. This is it's being stitched in DMC, so I've got all the kit threads, but my previous experience of Leisure Arts is, while they can be a bit stingy on the fabric, they're generally not too stingy on the thread. So, and it's DMC, so I'm sure I will already have the colours I need if I run out. So that's TW's The Dragon. So I don't want to get loads done and then realise I'm going to be right up against the end of the edge of the fabric. That would just be gutting. So next time you see it, it'll be on a different fabric, and I will have restarted it. So onto my oldest whip that I am currently working on. This is from 2011. This is Fruits of the Vine by With My Needle. I didn't get a huge amount done. I think I was working on this when I last filmed. When I picked it up, I had one word in here. So so in May I've got, so I can't remember, I can't remember where I was last time I filmed, but I think I was starting in on the middle section. So there is a bit of vine across the top. When I picked it up, I just had a rise stitched, but I have to say I wasn't really feeling the over one verse this time round, so it was more sort of a bit of a slog, but I just have the one word to go and then I wanted some more fun stuff for a bit, and I did put in, to break up the over one, a little bit more of the vine on the border. So yeah, so that's Fruits of the Vine. This is the outside of the hussif that I'm now stitching, which you can stitch it as a separate sampler, but I want to make it into the hussif. This is by With Thy Needle. Can't remember what the fabric is. It was all a kit. The kit came with threads, most of which are dinky dyes, but there are a couple of Glorianas. The brown and the green are all Gloriana. So yeah, 2011 I was working on this. I started this one, so it's time to get it finished. And so, having finished Elegant Pocket, it was time to pick up the last of my 2019 whips that need finishing. And that is the Milk Paint Sampler Thread Fold, and it's by Mary Gary's Sewing Cabin. This was part of a series that Kreinik put out in the early 2000s called Remember the Ladies, to promote their Milk Paint Silk Moire thread. And I'm not doing too badly on this one. I had, before I picked it up again, already finished this alphabet side, and I had made a start. So when I picked it up, I had just started stitching the house. So I finished the house, I put in one tree, and I'm working on the other. I only had a couple of nights working on this one. So yes, so this is using the Kreinik Silk Moire Milk Paint threads. There we go, there's the threads, lovely muted colours. Those threads. The fabric I'm using is 32 count. It's a piece I will have got from Silk Weaver when I was in the Fabric of the Month Club, but I mean, I think this was several Silk Weaver. I think there's been at least one, if not two, changes of ownership since I was in the Silk Weaver Fabric of the Month Club. So I don't know. I kind of like it, and it was unlabelled, so I can't remember what the name was, but it was the right size and worked with the thread colours. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to cracking on with that one. I mean, again, well on the way, well, should be well within my capabilities to finish, both the thread fold and the From the Heart basket before the end of the year. They're, as I say, they're the last of my 2019 whips that I need to get finished. So the only other whip is Hannah Coates. I think I hadn't worked on it in April when I last recorded, so I've just picked her up to get her stint this month. I actually felt like I made a fair bit of progress on Hannah last month because I finished off this big bird. Right, that's the whole sampler. She's a big girl. This is 40 count light mocha linen from Zweigart, and I'm using all the DMC thread. Show you the threads. Those are the thread colours. She liked a really bright, vivid pinks. Did Hannah, and blues and yellows. So since you last saw it, I feel like I've made some progress. We've got 3 of those flowers in the border finished. I finished this bird motif and brought the grass all the way over, which actually gives me a page finish. There's about 12 pages. Well, it's a half a finish, but the bird goes along here and that. So I have finished the bottom one of the bottom pages in the design. I'm working my way across the bottom because the bottom of this design is very heavily stitched with the all to quote, I can't remember if it was Brenda or Laura, the damn grass, or even Carol. There's a lot of stitching in the house. So I have finished that bird and I'm about here. So I got the bird finished last time and the grass almost over. I've done a bit more grass. I've brought this bottom line over. I put in little sausage dog and started on the shepherdess. If you can see her, the yellow used is quite pale. But very pleased with my progress on that one. I actually finally felt like I was getting somewhere with it. It's felt like I've not been getting anywhere with it for a little while. But I say, I put it down, worked on Rachel Howells, picked it back up again and thought, oh, I got enthused again. So yeah, so this is the whip I'm currently working on. We'll see how far I get. With being off work, I should get plenty of stitching time over the next few days, so this will be worked on up to the end of the month. So I should get the shepherdess finished, more of the animals in. So I'll get the shepherdess finished. She's there. Shepherdess finished. More of these animals in at the bottom, more grass, and get a start on the house, which is going to be the next solid bit of stitching. So yeah, as far as pages go, it's 4 pages across and sort of 3 pages up. So a sort of half pages a little bit at the bottom. But they probably have more stitching in than anything else, any of the rest of the design. So when I get this bottom bit done, I'll really feel like I'm motoring with this one. But it's lovely to work on her again. Right, let's grab some water. So, and at the beginning of this month, I had a new start. My new start was the Bees and Birds Sewing Roll, Bescorner and Fob from Stacey Nash. Now I got the kit when it was an exclusive for the Homespun Needlework Facebook group run by Julie Cassave. So and I'm aware that it is now no longer an exclusive design and has been released. So this is my progress. I'm quite pleased with how much I got done. Nice little bit of border, got the outer border, the inner border, made a start on the panel at the top. So this is being stitched on 36 count Weeks beige linen using Weeks Dye Works threads. Okay. My thread bling is a embroidered keyring that I found in a gift shop. I thought, oh, that's pretty, and I will can use it as thread jewellery. So yes, that's so I don't know when that one will next come out again, but quite pleased with my little start after 5 days. And then we're on to, so that's everything I've worked on for the end of April, most of May. Plans for, so say I'll finish the month out on Hannah Coates, and then I'll have done 2 months on her, so I'll put her down and work on, in June, one of my other sampler whips. I think it's going to be Mary Ann Aldred by Needlework Press. That was a new start beginning of last year. My new start for June is not going to be one I can share on here until a lot later in the year. I was lucky enough to get a place on the Great British Sampler Weekend that is being run by Nicola Parkman of Hands Across the Sea, and I am going to take part in the Smalls Exchange. So my plan next month is my new start will be my small for the exchange, and I will work on that in the small to medium slots in my rotation as well until it is finished, just to make sure, because the retreat is the end of September and I want to make sure I've got it stitched and finished in plenty of time, so I'm not rushing, because I know how busy September gets for us. And between college, kids going back to school, husband and I both have birthdays, September is a busy month. So that's my new start, and depending how long it takes me to stitch, I may or may not get back to From the Heart and the Milk Paint Thread Keep, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't take me too long to finish, because if I work on it in the new start slot and the other 2 slots, that gives me 15 days stitching on this particular piece, and it's it's not a big piece, so should be able to get it done on then restart Guardian, work on Fruits of the Vine, and like I say, work on Mary Ann Aldred. Then July I'll have another new start, and I should be back to my regular rotation, with the exception that Guardian will be put down and An Open Heart by Drawn Thread will go in its slot, because I'll have worked on Guardian for 2 months at that point. And then that just leaves me with some stash. Now there's not a lot, because what I did get was quite expensive. I got the Mary Gibson 1828 sampler that was the exclusive for the Homeless Spun Needlework group, and it's a design by Whilst Iris Naps. It's distributed by Hobby House Needleworks. So yes, so you can only buy the full kit, so obviously it was quite expensive, because it has quite a lot of thread. She's a big girl. I've gone for the 40 count Thornfield by Needle and Flax, so that will be my first time stitching on Needle and Flax linens, so I'm looking forward to trying that. And the kit also came with a Mini McBean's frippery, which will go on my floss ring when I start. So I do like Mary. Mary is actually comes from Tadcaster, which is only a few miles up the road from me. I quite frequently ride my bike through there, so which made her even more attractive because local sample. It's nice to be able to stitch a sampler that's really local, and she and Mary is within 10 miles of my house, so there we go. So I'm really looking forward to doing that one. Probably be a start, I suspect, beginning of next year maybe. I say, beautiful colours, all Weeks Dye Works threads. So having splurged on that one, there wasn't a lot else apart from my husband and I went to a festival at Sunnybank Mills, which is the other side of Leeds from me. They were holding the Threads Festival. Now, if you watch Great British Sewing Bee, they film it at Sunnybank Mills, or they filmed the last series at Sunnybank Mills. I think they're filming the current series, it was also filmed at Sunnybank Mills, to give you a little bit of context. And they were having a fabric related festival. So there were yarn dyers, there was hand sewers, there was Modern Quilt Club was there, which was one reason why I was going, and you'll see why when I get onto the quilting section. And Bobby and Joy used to be the knitting goddess, but she's recently wound up her that business, and she's concentrating on some other doing different things. One business is called The Unruly Stitch, and the other is, I think it's called Bobby and Joe, where she does glass. She's been getting into glasswork, and she had these lovely counting pins with flowers on the top. So I got 3 of those in shades of blue. Absolutely beautiful. To go in a small somewhere along the way. Yeah, Sunnybank Mills was gorgeous. I may stick I'll stick a couple of photos on the end. I am supposed to actually have a family connection to that mill because it was, my maiden name is Ives, and the Ives family, at some point my great grandfather didn't go into the wool trade, but everyone else in his family was in the wool trade, and the Iveses owned a mill in Guiseley, and at one point they did take over Sunnybank Mills. My aunt remembers being taken to, I think, the Guiseley mill when she was a very young girl. So yeah, so it was interesting to go and see Sunnybank Mills. I haven't worked out exactly where the family connection is, but yeah, so that was fun. I'll try and stick a few pictures on the end, and like I say, if you watch Great British Sewing Bee, you will see the mill building, which is absolutely gorgeous, and highly recommend a visit at some point. Right, I'm going to pause the video now to move all the cross stitch stuff, and I'll bring the knitting and quilting over to show you. All right, I'll be back in a minute. Oh, I'm back. Got all my knitting and quilting to go through with you. So, knitting. Since we last spoke, I've had a finish. I have finished. I remember I'd only got one little bit left to do on the Miss May Mystery Knit Along by Curious Handmade. I haven't had a chance to block it yet. I had hoped to block it and then record the video, but this is my only time when I can get up here to record this week, so I'm having to record and then I will block my shawl. All I had left to do was the dark green on the bottom and cast off. So there we go, this is the unblocked but finished shawl. I've sewn in all my ends, so I just need to block it once I've done this. Once I finish this video, that's going to be the next job, is blocking this shawl. So, pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. It is the mystery knit along finished this time last year, so it's not been a mystery for a while now. So the yarns used. This dark green was Zakami 100% superwash fine merino in the pendulum colourway. The lighter green was also Zakami 100% superwash fine merino in the Norton colourway. The pink was fondant fibres from Deep Stash. It is their Hannah colour yarn weight, superwash merino and mulberry silk in the colourway Love Me Tender. And the variegated yarn is from Meadow Yarns. It's their Coombe fingering, and it was part of some limited edition yarns they did last year called A Hat Full of Sea, and the colour, this particular colourway was New Gale. Meadow Yarns do some limited edition, a lot of limited edition short runs of yarns based on photographs that they've taken or so. So yes, so this is my finished shawl, and I hope next time I film I should be able to show you the finished shawl with the blocking done and all the ends trimmed, so I can show it off in all its glory. So that was what I was working on this month as far as my knitting goes. Last month when I last recorded, I was working on the Habitation Throw, also by Curious Handmade. I did get a bit more, I've got a bit more done on my Habitation Throw. I am past the halfway point, which is nice. There we go. How far I got past the halfway point. So I finished off this purpley pink stripe, though it's quite a thick stripe, but I wanted to use the yarn up, and I've started on the next colour of yarn. And like I say, so when I last recorded I was there, and I got about another 20 rows done last in April rather. So yeah, so it's making steady progress through this one. So this yarn I'm now using is, I think, some river yarns in the Monet's Water Lilies, I think was the colourway. I think this is the one of the colourways I was using on my Impressionist shawl that I knit last year before. That was also a Curious Handmade shawl. I think that was a mystery knit along as well. So having cast off a shawl, I needed to cast on another one. So the one I have started working on this month is called, it's a kit I got last year from Marna Gilligan of Anne Katzenberg, and it was her summer shawl, and it's called Hive. It's using her own hand-dyed yarn, and this is my progress to date. Just got a nice little start on the stocking stitch. The kit came with some with the 2 skeins of yarn needed and these little stitch markers. The yarns are Catin Silk. It's quite pale colours, which is 100% mulberry silk, and the colourway is called Take Me for a Walk in the Morning Dew. So it's well, it's going to come up. It is very pale. It's sort of pale yellows and greys and a little bit of very light blues. And the other yarn used is her Catin Fluff yarn, mohair, which is 72% kid mohair and 28% silk. Also in the Take Me for a Walk in the Morning Dew colourway. And that comes in when you get down to the bottom, and there's these honeycomb motifs at the bottom. So very much enjoying working on that one. So just got a little start on it so far. I hope to get a bit more done before I put it down at the end of the month. I don't get a lot of knitting done now because of the issues I've had with my hand. So I can't use a mouse and knit in the same day. But being off work this week for half term, I should get a bit more knitting done. And that's it for knitting. One finished object, progress on another 2. So on to quilting. There has been some quilting progress. I am working on getting my Sparkle and Shine quilt together. I've got the middle section done. Move back a bit. There you go. So very pleased with how it's going. I've just got the borders. I've got some borders to go around it. Which way up it goes? Maybe that. It's square at the minute. There we go. So I'm hoping I can get all the borders attached this week while I'm off work, and get that top finished and ready to sandwich and quilt. And then I will go to get on to finishing off putting together the So Sweet quilt. I've also worked a bit more on the felt heart I was working on, and have got the front finished. So I just need to attach the back now and get it stuffed, and that one will be one that's off the to-do list. So when I mentioned I went to the Threads Festival, Lisa at the Modern Quilt Club had announced she was going to start stocking LapApp products from the US. The LapApp is a lap stand if you do a lot of hand sewing. I don't, so I didn't want the stand, but they had these desk caddies. So I did order one of those. So I went to the Threads Festival to pick this up, so Lisa didn't have to try and get it in the post to me. It's got a section for that I put my scissors and my snips in, a little caddy for scraps, some little felt balls for pin cushions, needles, little tray at the back with a magnet for pins and needles, and in here you can thread bobbins you can put thread and thread bobbins. I've not done that yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. Quite pleased with that. I say they come from Lisa at the Modern Quilt Club. So that and my rolling subscription to the Village Green quilt, which you'll I suspect maybe next year before I get on with, once I've assembled the other two, I might start stitching that one up, but we'll see. I want to get some quilts finished. I know that's a radical concept, but there you go. Well, that's me. Just a quick canter through everything I've been up to for the last 5-6 weeks. As I said, it's half term here. The weather has picked up, but it looks like it's going to drop off again, of course, because it's half term. So we'll see. I'm hoping if the weather's not so nice, then it's all the more reason to sit at home and do some stitching, do a bit of knitting because I'm not at work and not going to completely knacker my hand, and hope and not be running around after the kids, so I can get plenty of stitching in of an evening. So I'll be back hopefully just at the end of July. We're going away on holiday very quickly after we all break up for the summer, but I shall try and record before we go and try and get a video uploaded before we go away, and then I can do another one towards the end of the summer holidays. It's but other than that, hope you stay well, have a lovely time. If you're in the UK, enjoy Spring Bank. If you're off, if you get the luxury of half term, enjoy that. And I will see you again towards the end of July, hopefully. Bye.